Hare Krishna. First, I'd like to thank the GBC-SPT team for organizing the lecture series based on the 10 canto. I have a very bad throat and trouble with my voice, and I was hesitant in speaking. But since the sponsors have insisted I speak, I'm going to attempt to speak, but my voice is very low. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and these pastimes are being discussed in the auspicious month of Kartik. Kartik, as we all know, is very auspicious, best of the 12 months, and a little bit of service done in Kartik is magnified a million times. There was a mouse that helped the lamp not fade so that people could see the form of the Lord in a village temple. Just for this small service, he got a human body and then went back to Godhead. In Kartik, one is advised to read and chant, create a spiritual activity. So I'm very happy that I had the privilege to speak in this month. Several important Lilas took place in Kartik. The famous Dhruva Maharaj story, pastime, also took place in Kartik. Radha appeared on the planet in Kartik. Our divine spiritual master also left the planet. So we're very fortunate that the Krishna book is being discussed by devotees all over the world. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in order to understand the Lord, one has to engage on the devotional path. Bhakti amam abhijanati. Krishna appears by Shravya Dharma. So if we hear the Krishna book last time, then we get purified. And we get purified, we make spiritual advancement. So in the Krishna book, there's so many wonderful pastimes. Now, if you were to read these stories in isolation, you may not understand the true impact. And when Krishna appears, he always does something superhuman. Janma karma chame devyam. So it is very nice that different advanced Vaishnavas are speaking on the Lord's pastime. I was given the assignment of speaking on chapter 24 and chapter 25 of the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada, when he came to the West, he had the manuscript of the 10th canto with him. And Prabhupada was looking for someone to publish it in a very impressive format. So Prabhupada was expecting to do this with the help of a donation. At that time, our preachers had just gone to England to start the movement. Shamsundar and his wife, Mukunda and his wife, and Gurudas and his wife. And Shamsundar had come to New York to give Prabhupada a report for their preaching. And Prabhupada told him, why don't you ask George to help pay for the Krishna book? And Shamsundar said, Prabhupada is a new devotee. He may not like it. He may get scared. Prabhupada said, no, do it. And he asked, and George immediately agreed to print it, to pay for the printing. That's why in the introduction, that's why in the Krishna book, you read the introduction from George. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he displays supreme activities from day one. He doesn't have to wait for years to start displaying for human activity. For example, when he was just a young child, he was a powerful demon persona. So this pastime of worshipping Govardhana Lila took place when Krishna was 7 years old. and Krishna and Balaram, they saw that the Brijvasis were busy in executing some sacrifice. They were preparing for the sacrifice in a very elaborate way. And Krishna knew what the cause was, but he pretended as if he did not know. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hirdeshe arjuna tishriti. I am situated in everyone's heart. So Krishna asked his father, "My dear father, I see that you are busy engaged in some type of preparation. What is this preparation? I've never seen you so engrossed. What is it?" The father did not respond. The father thought, this boy is too young to understand all the intricacies. And Nand Maharaj, on his own, he had 900,000 cows. Imagine, 9 lakh cows were all healthy, had silver ornaments on them. And out of these 9 lakh cows, 100 cows were cows that gave regular perfumed milk. So Nand Maharaj was a big farmer, and the farmer is dependent on only one thing, rains. If there's good rain, there's good harvest. If the rain is not proper, then you don't get a good harvest. If you have rains, then there will be prosperity. And if you don't have rains, you have drought, then there will be suffering. So, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, food grains are produced due to rain. Rain comes when the yajna, performing of religious duty. So we see in the present day society, the monsoons are very erratic. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't, because there is so much sinful activity going on the planet. So Krishna pleaded with his father 3 times. Please tell me, what is this sacrifice going on for? He kept quiet. Finally the son said, my dear father, I thought we were friends. We don't keep secret from friends. I'm your friend. Please tell me what this sacrifice is for. So Nand Maharaj finally spoke. My dear son, you are very young. You will not understand the purpose of the sacrifice. You know we are farmers. Farmer can only succeed if there is rainfall. And rainfall is controlled by whom? Indra. There are 33 crore demigods. But these demigods are not equal to the Lord. One of the 10 offenses is to consider the name of demigod to be equal to the name of the Supreme Lord. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Adhanadi Adi Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. There are many Ishvaras, there is only one who is supreme. He is the cause of all causes. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows everything, past, present and future. Bhagavad Gita's knowledge is also eternal knowledge. So Krishna spoke a few times. His father finally agreed to explain the reason. So the father said, you know we are farmers. We are dependent on Lord Indra's mercy. So if we don't do the sacrifice, then we won't have rains. And then we'll starve. And Krishna's goal was to take his father away from the mood of doing yajnas for please Indra. So Krishna said, Father, you don't have to please Indra. The karma Vimamsa theory or says, according to our actions, we'll get the result in any case. Whatever rain is due, we'll get it. And then Krishna explained the karma Vimamsa theory. And the result ultimately, his father was convinced that he could stop the sacrifice for Indra. For Indra, they had prepared very elaborate sacrifice. And the Lord said, cows, brahmanas must be fed. Our Vedic civilization is based on protecting the cow and the bull. The cow is one of our 7 mothers, and the milk that the cow gives nourishes the whole body. There was an advertising campaign in the West a few years ago. The campaign was milk, the perfect food. So sages in the past, you should live just on milk. So Krishna told his father, instead of serving Indra, why don't you use all these facilities and serve the brahmanas and the cows, protect the cows? So father agreed. And what happened? All the ingredients that were there to protect, to offer to Indra, were used to offer it to Govardhana. And you offer it to Govardhana Hill. And plus the devotees made additional items. So in the end, it was a huge feast that was offered to Govardhana Hill, the cows and the brahmanas. When we talk about brahmanas, we're talking about genuine brahmanas, not show bottle brahmanas. And Krishna says, Chaturvarna Maya Shrestha, Guna Karma Vibhagasa. According to Guna, it is determined whether one is Brahman or Kshatriya or Vaishya or Sudra. So the elaborate offering was made for Govardhana, and Lord Krishna himself said, I am now God on hell, and all this offering I will eat. And he ate all the offering. In order to convince the Brijvasis that Krishna is not different from Govardhana, he resumed an unprecedented huge form as Giriraj to convince the cowherd men, here is Krishna, who is not different from Giriraj. So, while Krishna established that there is no difference between Govardhana Hill and him. Lord Chaitanya, when he went to Govardhana Parvat, he did not step on the stones, because he said, these are not different from Krishna. So then Govardhana Hill was satisfied, and they were very satisfied by the elaborate offerings made by his devotees. So Nand Maharaj and the farmers, they made a very elaborate sacrifice. Krishna was pleased that his father and Srivasi agreed to do as he said. But Indra was totally upset. He said, these Brijvasis have become proud. They think that they have become rich due to good harvesting and protection of cows. Now that's why they have become proud. And they will not listen to me and listen to this foolish young boy. What does this foolish young boy know? I should teach him a lesson. And Indra, in a great anger, said, he ordered these Samataka clouds go over Braj. Samataka clouds are very, very strong. They make a heavy noise when they move, and it's just like sometime in the winter season you hear thundering and lightning. The Samataka cloud, the sound, the lighting, and the sound is very, very heavy. If you hear it, you'll actually get a heart attack. So he ordered some of the crowd. I want you to go to Vrindavan and teach this boy Krishna and his father and other a lesson. Why did they listen to this foolish young boy and stop the sacrifice? So the Samataka clouds were ordered. Now you go over Vrindavan and drown the whole area with water. Indra's plan was a little cruel. His plan was, we'll get the Brajvasis, we'll drown in the water, and the animals will also die. Indra said, don't worry, I'm coming behind you, and I'm going to come in my Airavata elephant. So, heavy rainfall started. Each drop of water from the Samudraka clouds was as heavy as a pillar. Normally, my experience says that the rainwater, when it falls, it definitely doesn't crash through your umbrella. But the Samudraka clouds water was so heavy, each drop of water was as heavy as a pillar. And the Brajvasis were in great anxiety. They were feeling cold. Their body was shivering. They didn't know what to do. They wanted to protect the animals also. They didn't want any animals to get drowned. So the Brajvasis were wondering what to do. Krishna lifted the Govardhana hill. How? With two hands? No. With one hand? No. He just used his smallest left finger to lift the mountain. Can you imagine? The smallest left finger has almost no strength in most people. And here Krishna lifted a gigantic Govardhana hill. Govardhana hill, as we see today, is a lot smaller than it used to be. At the time when Krishna was on the planet, the tip of Govardhana hill would be touching the sky. Imagine how long, how tall it would be. The tip used to touch the ceiling. And gradually, Govardhana hill, it started shrinking 1 mustard seed every year. So over the years, it has shrunk. So on the one hand, some of the clouds were overbrushed, and the rainfall was like pillars. Then there was wind. The wind was moving very fast also. And the Brajvasis were just wondering what to do. A devotee in pleasure and pain has only one friend. Who is that? Krishna. All the Brajvasis were looking towards Krishna for a solution. Brajvasis were thinking, oh, this 7-year-old boy, he is lifting this Govardhana hill, but it may fall any time. Krishna was lifting the Govardhana hill like an elephant holds a mushroom. No sweat at all. So Krishna had to assure the Brajvasis, I think you are worried, thinking that this hill will drop from my hands. He said, don't worry, I guarantee you this hill is not going to collapse and all of you will be protected. Once they got that assurance from Krishna, all the Brajvasis came under the umbrella of Govardhana hill, all of them. And at the same time, when they came in, their cows and animals, everything expanded, and they each had enough space to occupy. Now this went on for how many days? It went on for 7 days. For 7 days, the Samudraka clouds were pouring heavy rainfall. And Lord Sri Krishna, by divine potency, the water would at once get wiped off. So on the surface, there wasn't any water. So this went on for 7 days. And the Brajvasis, during the 7-day period, were all just meditating at Krishna's face. And they were just thinking of Krishna even more deeply. All the scriptures recommend that we should train our minds in such a manner that we think of Krishna all the time. And that is the guaranteed path to success. So for 7 days it was heavy pouring, and the Brijvasis were fully protected. Krishna's name is Girdhari, one who carried the Giraj mountain. So 7 days went by. The Brijvasis did not feel any hunger or thirst. Why did they not feel any hunger or thirst? Because they were totally absorbed in thinking of Krishna and meditating at his lotus feet. So similarly, if we remain absorbed in Krishna conscious activities, then we will also be saved from the anarthas. Lust and greed, envy, hatred. These anarthas are always trying to tempt us to material life, and we have to struggle. And what is the process for controlling the anarthas? What is the process? Bhajana kriya, following the process of chanting and hearing. So for 7 days, Indra was somewhat like a cloud pouring heavy rainfall, and Krishna protected the Brijvasis. And the Brijvasis did not feel any hunger or thirst. But then Indra realized, I have made a mistake. I have underestimated the young boy. The young boy is Krishna, the Supreme Lord. He realized he made a mistake. And what did he do? He apologized to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the Supreme, and the demigods sometimes get illusioned. What does the Lord do? He rectifies the situation for our benefit. So we see in the Bhagavatam, Lord Shiva, he was also tested, and then he glorified the Lord. And Lord Indra, he was tested now in this Govardhana Lila, and he realized he made a mistake. Lord Brahma. So all the demigods recognize that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜 Krishna 𝐅𝐫𝐞𝐞. So Krishna, Indra came to Krishna to apologize for his offensive attitude. And then Krishna pardoned him and reduced his pride. The Lord wants us to be humble. Therefore Lord Chaitanya said, Tinadapi Sujjena Rupapi Saijana. We want to share the holy name of the Lord all the time. What should we do? We should be in a humble state of mind. So Indra, a powerful demigod, in charge of rain, recognized that in front of Krishna, he is nothing. Our four-headed Brahma had gone to Dwarka once, and he told the doorkeeper, tell Krishna that Brahma has come. So the doorkeeper told the Lord, Brahma has come waiting for you, can you have your audience? Which Brahma is it? The doorkeeper. When he came to Brahma and said, the Lord wants to know, which Brahma are you? So four-headed Brahma was shocked. You mean there are other Brahmas besides me? So he went to see the Lord, offered his obeisances, and then he said, before I ask you anything, I want to know, are there any other Brahmas besides me? He could not even complete his question when he saw instantly unlimited Brahmas manifesting themselves. Some had million heads, trillion heads, and our four-headed Brahma was looking like a small mouse in the midst of elephants. So then the four-headed Brahma realized that he's very small. So the demigods sometimes get puffed up, and they think that they're equal to the Supreme Lord. One of the 10 offenses is consider the names of demigods to be equal to or independent of the holy name of the Lord Vishnu. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and he performs superhuman activities. Once I was in a interfaith dialogue with some Indian groups, and one of the prominent speakers there said, you Hare Krishnas, You believe there's only one Krishna. We're all Krishna. So I said, we're all Krishna? Can you duplicate the activity that he performed? And he said, if I can't today, I'll do it tomorrow. So I said, Krishna lifted the Govardhana hill, just with the help of the smallest finger of his left hand. We'll give you a discount. You can use both your hands. You lift a fraction of the hill. He said, not today, but that doesn't mean I won't be able to do it tomorrow. So they just give forged checks. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord. This is not some imagination, perfection. And these pastimes of the Lord are for one, our purification. We see that the Lord performed a superhuman activity just from the beginning. Nanda Maharaj saw that the Brijvasis were just amazed at what his son can do. Prior to this, the son had killed many asuras. And the Brijvasis were worried. Is he God? Or is he a Devta? Or is he an expansion of an expansion? How come this child performs so many superhuman activities? Krishna already called Putana, Avarta, and so many other demons. And Krishna, when he was questioned by his mother, have you eaten dirt? And the son opened his mouth and said, no, this is a false complaint. But if you don't believe me, I'll open my mouth. And when Krishna opened the mouth, what did the mother see? The whole universe, etc. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So Nanda Maharaj was very surprised when he saw his son lifting the Govardhana hill. But he was already exposed to Krishna's Leelas, and he had already heard from Karga Muni that your son has appeared before in 3 ages in different colors, and he will always perform superhuman activities. So Nanda Maharaj was suspicious. Is my son a demigod or an expansion of Narayana? He knew his son was special. So Nanda Maharaj revealed what Karga Muni said, all the inhabitants of Raj. And then the inhabitants of Raj knew Krishna is not ordinary. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One thing that Prabhupada emphasized often is the Supreme Lord can only be understood how? The path of devotional service. So the path of bhakti purifies our heart and our senses and makes us realize that our real constitutional duty is to serve the Supreme Lord. So Krishna performs many superhuman activities. The Govardhana Lila pastime is one of the most popular pastimes of the Lord. If we were to do a survey with devotees, here's a list of the Lord's pastimes. Which one are you familiar with the most? There's a very good chance that the top score would be given to the Govardhana Lila pastime. In the Govardhana Lila pastime, the Lord has again shown that he does his activities are superhuman. Therefore, he is God. And we should read the Krishna book. And many devotees have a habit of reading the Krishna book before sleeping. The Krishna book contains many wonderful pastimes. And by reading the Krishna book, we get to understand how great God is. Just saying God is great, not enough. We need to know how great God is. And that is Krishna. And the Lord is so kind. He appears in various incarnations, various forms, and performs superhuman activities. In the material world, people find it hard to read, to accept these superhuman activities. They think that this is imaginary or mythology. It's not mythology, it's a reality. But to understand this, we need to purify ourselves. And that purification is a pain and the process of practicing devotional service. I want to thank all of you for inviting me to speak at this conference. Unfortunately, I have a bad throat, and so to speak too long becomes a little difficult. And we hope that we can absorb ourselves more and more Krishna's transcendental activity. You never get tired when you read about Krishna again and again. You never get tired when you chant the holy name again and again. Just like the Brijvasis didn't have any hunger or thirst when Krishna had protected them at the Govardhana hill. Similarly, if we absorb ourselves in Shravanam Kirtanam, then our appetite for material activities will also go down. This is the safest path for perfecting your life. So please absorb yourself in these wonderful pastimes, Lord Shri Krishna. Prabhupada was very keen that the Krishna book would be presented as soon as possible. Prabhupada said, I wasn't sure how long I would live. So in order to make sure that Krishna was properly represented in his pastime, Prabhupada, ahead of other books, he worked on the Krishna book and presented it in a wonderful story form. So thank you very much, Gopal Bhatta and your team, for inviting me. I'm sorry if my voice wasn't strong enough to communicate. And this is a wonderful opportunity to remember Krishna and to get immersed in Krishna's activity, Lila. That should be our goal. Nama and Rupa. We should take interest in the holy name. We should meditate on the form of the Lord. We should meditate on a different asana of the Lord. And as I said earlier, this month of Kartik is extremely auspicious. So many wonderful pastimes took place this month. I listed several in the beginning. One pastime which was very famous is the Damodar Lila. We sing the Damodar Ashtra every day. The Damodar Lila is also very unique. Mother Yashoda was trying her best to tie her son down. She was tired of receiving regular complaints. Your son is coming and stealing our butter. And so she was unhappy with that. So she knew her son was also very mischievous. So she wanted to punish him. And she said, okay, at least I'll tie him with a rope. That is safer than my beating him with a stick. So she tried to tie the son down with a rope. She took all the ropes of Braj, and they were still 2 fingers short. So this 2 fingers short, according to our Acharya, has a powerful message. If we want to make spiritual progress, then you have to make an effort. And if you make the effort, then by the mercy of the Lord and the Acharya, you'll be able to make spiritual advancement. So we should constantly be endeavoring to make spiritual advancement. And this process of hearing the passion of the Lord is the safest process for purification. So thank you once again. Hare Krishna.